Hello there. Dave here with the Bible again. We're just getting into the book of Job, one of the more philosophical books, really, in my opinion, my ever so humble opinion. The book of Job is probably the oldest book in the Bible when it comes to time period, when it comes to when Job lived, probably around the days of Abraham in that era, at any rate, in the land. The book of Job settles on a person and his journey, his quest to figure out who God is and why all these things are happening to him. Because in the beginning, we see him get crushed, crushed by God, because God allows Satan to crush him. And we see from there the many chapters on with his debates with his friends as he goes forth. And then it finally ends, not with really an answer. God doesn't tell him what was going on. He just says, I'm God. There you go. And there really needs to just be it for him. But it's interesting to read. It's interesting to study. It's actually kind of a hard book to study in a Bible study setting. We did this actually for several weeks, several months really, at our church, and it was great. It was a good study. But after a few chapters, you start feeling like you're in the same, it's the same basic book. But we're going to try to cover all the chapters, and again, like I've been doing since Genesis, just overview as much as I can, as there are little nuggets of gold in here though. Job chapter 1, Job endures his loss. So there's two stages of the drama. You got earth and heaven. The earthly stage of the drama, what's going on with him, and then in heaven, it goes back and forth. In Job's catastrophic loss, he loses everything, his family, everything but his wife and all that, his kids. There's always a servant that comes running to him, this so-and-so having this, and your kids are gone. It's crazy. And in Job chapter 2, Satan, asks God to allow him to destroy Job's health, because everything that happens in this has to be allowed, filtered through the hands of God, period. He's the one that's all-knowing. He's the one that's omniscient. He's the one that's everywhere. Satan is going to and fro throughout the earth. And God says, look at my servant Job. Look at him right there. And that's when the whole thing starts taking place. So it does tell us a lot about the characters in the Bible, the people, and the spiritual beings that we encounter in there, especially angelic beings, as it is. Job's health is destroyed anyhow. God boasts again over Job. Job suffers affliction and shows his integrity. Consolation of Job's friends comes at the end there. They start getting into it. It's like every few chapters there's a different one of his friends. He's got three main friends, and then later comes this fourth person that we're assuming is his friend. It's kind of an interesting character. Job 3, he curses the day of his birth. He wishes he'd never been born, longs for the grave, and release from his presence. Like, why did I not just die at birth? Then I would be at peace. Chapter 4, the first speech of Eliphaz, the opening comments, talking about remembering the advice he'd given to others to help the weak. Because Job had been a person who helped others. That's a big thing. Job had been somebody who went out and helped other people. He was a man that was known in the community for that. And now he's being crushed. Now he's being, struck down. And there's this fragility of man, the frailty. Man is just dust, basically. And then chapter 5, he explains the cause of Job's troubles. And of course, in his head, Eliphaz is just a man like everyone else. Defending God, though, praising God's omnipotence. He's all-knowing. He's just. He is God. And Job is, a sinner like everybody else. And all throughout this, we see Job try to justify himself. And all throughout this, we see his friends telling him, no, you can't justify yourself. So Job chapter 6, Job replies to Eliphaz, what does your arguing prove? Like nothing. He longs for God to grant him escape from all of this stuff. But he never once thinks about killing himself. He says, if I'm going to go, it has to be because God does it. Criticizes Eliphaz, defends himself, which tends to be what he does throughout the entire book. Challenges his friends to point out his error. Chapter 7, in response to Eliphaz, Job cries out to God. All throughout this, we see Job talking to God. Never his friends, just Job. Mourning of his life. His soul is struggling and appeals, what have I done? What have I done? That's just the first 7 chapters. So we'll try to cover some more in the next video. God bless. Hang in there. The word of truth.